I've been working with my hands for as long as I can remember. I've sewed at a very early age, and I've crocheted, and then I learned to make all my own doll clothes, and I learned to design and make my own clothes. So that's what this is going to be about, working with your hands. I studied botany before I went to art school, and I loved everything I saw in the microscope. I loved the shapes and the colors. So I went off to art school and studied figure drawing and thought I'd be a painter the rest of my life. And I've always been trying to merge my love of nature and my love of art, and I discovered beading. And beads fit together very much like plant cells. So these are tiny little beads. They're antique beads. They're all handmade. They're sized by how many fit into an inch. So these are size 18 to 24. And I started sketching and drawing everything that I saw and going, could I bead it? I don't know. So I would try it. So this is my pickle jar of experiments. I have another one of those. But I would peel bugs off the grill of the car and sketch it. So this is I would never kill a bug, but this is my collection. And I started making simple wearable pieces for myself. As an artist, I could never afford jewelry, so I just made my own. And then people asked me, where did you get that jewelry? And I finally realized I could actually make a living off of doing this. So this has been my journey with beads. This is a sketch, so I do lots of sketches. I seem to work best by getting the information through my hands into my brain and be able to create things. And there's a lot of invention going on. I'm completely self-taught as a beader. JJ wanted to know how long a piece would take. This is a brooch that took about 75 hours to make, because the beads are so tiny and you're sewing one bead to the next. And then I have to make the sterling silver pin back to fit each piece. So I sell at a couple different galleries in bigger cities. But I just want to show you this. I got to experience, I spend most of my time outside, and I got to experience a Luna moth hatching. So I had to bead it. And then I had to bead all the flowers that went with it and made a necklace. And the Luna moth is a brooch that you can wear separately. So I wanted you to get an idea of the process where you can take a photograph, but I don't get information from a photo. I get more information by actually painting and sketching and analyzing it from the front and from the back. So this is a brooch, and I started making brooches with pollinators, the flower and the pollinator. And the reason I love beading so much, it reflects how we are connected with all these tiny little particles. All of us are connected right now just by breathing the same air. It's the most tedious thing in the world, but it's so zen. Once you start, it's hard to stop. This is a brooch. I used to live in the city, and I had a garden, and my landlord turned it into a parking lot, so I would walk with a basket and snitch bouquets from the alleys. So this was one of the roses I snitched out of somebody's garden and turned it into a brooch with a bumblebee on it. This is the first necklace I've ever made, and I used the hummingbird as the clasp and put the loop underneath. So it was constantly figuring out how to invent ways for the beadwork to fit together. And I keep trying to use as many of these tiny little antique beads as possible, because it's almost like painting in 3D for me. And then I realized I did not have to have a clasp in the back. I could let it be very organic, and the butterfly is a brooch that holds the whole necklace down, or you could just wear the butterfly separate if you did not want to wear the necklace. This is called the roadside bouquet. There's 300 hours worth of work in this. It has over 6 different types of beading stitches, and it's all the plants I found in the alley, and it's the flower, the bud, and the seed pod. And the butterfly holds the whole necklace down and can be worn as a brooch separately. This is the last necklace I've made, and the cicada is a brooch that holds the entire necklace down. And it's really helpful to have a dressmaking form for me because I can pin elements onto her and move them around like a three-dimensional collage and figure out how it's going to work together. And I've also done some beaded paintings. I've taken some of my paintings. This is called Germinate. And I thought, where do ideas come from? And I thought they sprout in your heads like seeds. So, and sometimes you go, why didn't I think of that years ago? Well, you weren't ready for that. So I thought, well, why don't I try beading it? And this is another beaded painting. I thought it doesn't have to be rectangular. It could be shape pieces, and it's called Be Grateful for Where You Are. I was in a huge fire when I lived out in California many years ago, and I lost everything. And people kept sending me little packages of beads. It was like Christmas time. And I thought, okay, I guess I'm still meant to be beading. And there's a doodle. You can get ideas from anything. I did a little doodle on an envelope to do a mobile, and I thought, oh, that would be impossible. I pursued it. And I made this mobile that's on the right called the Pond, with 5 goldfish and 5 insects. And the other mobile you can see at Redo right now. It's hanging, Susan and I have a little booth at Redo, and it's hanging there. And this is Trying to Root, which is my sculpture that's been in many museum shows around the country. And she is the culmination of my love of nature. And this is my muse, Tigerboy, and he does kitty crafts sometimes with me. And I design and make my own clothes, and he helped me make this felted jacket. So get outside, take a magnifying glass, enjoy this beautiful planet we live on. It's amazing. Recycle as much as you can, and take a class, learn something, do something with your hands.